Hey everybody, welcome to episode 10 of The Unknown Room, and today we're joined by Smilin, Sam, Alvey, who's going to be taking on Clitzen Abreu on that San Antonio, Texas card. So Sam, how are you doing today?
I'm doing wonderful. Hey, and shoot, we're episode number 10. I'm your first double digit.
First double digit.
Yeah, that's moving up in the world.
Yeah, it's a pretty historical moment for the site, at least. So first, I want to get into something that I found pretty interesting out about you.
Okay.
In your early days, it says you used to play trumpet semi-professionally, and I don't think I've ever heard anybody ask you about that. What was that like? Like, tell me, what were you doing with the trumpet skills?
Yeah, I played trumpet for 20 years or so. I mean, I used to be able to play whatever you put in front of me. When I say I played semi-professionally, it was a big orchestra and also a big band, and they all used to get paid. I never got paid. If I got paid, I'd say I was a professional, but I never got paid. I did it for college credits. Um, but yeah, I played for years and years and years. I used to be really good. I used to be able to play for just hours. Now I can play for like minutes. But, actually, fighting's kind of the reason I stopped playing. I never made any money playing the trumpet, and I made very little, but at least some money fighting.
Do you still play the trumpet from time to time here and there? Do you own one?
Yeah, I still play. I've got it hanging on my wall even. So I'm in my music room right now. I'm sitting at my piano, but then I've got my trumpet. There's a violin. The
Nice.
ukulele, that's what I'm working on right now the most with my little girl. And so I'm still musically inclined. The
Nice.
trumpet was always my best. I used to be able to play for hours. Now I can play for minutes.
And I know you mentioned the ukulele with the little girl. When we scroll down your Instagram, we see a lot of gym stuff, but it's also a lot of family-oriented things. What's it like managing fatherhood with fighting?
Oh, it's great. They just kind of do it with me. Here, my next fight will be in Texas. All my whole family will be there. I've got a little foster baby now, and my foster baby will be there. We are due for our fourth biological child here at the end of August.
Mm.
So it'll be a full plane ride, a full hotel room. And
And
I couldn't do it without them. I love what I do, and I do it for them.
what are some tips that you have to some other dad fighters out there, maybe trying to manage that lifestyle with the fighting and being a dad?
I just embrace it. I mean, you're going to be with your kids all the time, so just bring them with, enjoy every moment with them, because this is. I mean, as much as I hate thinking about it, I know I can't do it forever as much as I would like to. And so there's going to be a time when I don't fight anymore. My kids won't be going with me to fights. So I make sure they remember every fight now. I train with them. I coach them, and I try and make them as much a part of my career as the actual fight.
And the family atmosphere is something that a lot of people really like about you online. It's something that people are always talking about on Twitter, but you're not really always on Twitter. But a lot of people also want to know. They know that you're with McKee. Everyone knows who she is. What was the story of when you guys met? Because I believe I read something that said it was at a Renaissance fair of some sort.
Yeah. Yeah, it was at a Renaissance fair. It was my second year at the fair, and it was her first year. I was selling steak on steak, and she was selling bodice. So she was making what you call it, a medieval plastic surgery, just making boobs look even bigger.
Yeah.
Uh, and her boss and a buddy of mine introduced us, and we've been together ever since. We're shoot, wait, a long time. We've been married for 6 years. We've been together for 12, almost 12. Um, yeah, we've just been before I ever stepped in an octagon. She was there with she and I were together.
And it's cool to see that she's always in your corner. Usually has a different color hair. Like that's another thing people look forward to seeing you guys come out. And speaking of hair, though, I want to get into yours because we know that you're famous for always cutting the designs in the back of your hair. Sometimes it's a smiley face, sometimes it's whatever. But what made you start doing that? And do you always go to the same barber?
So when I first started, he was like a hair artist. It was Jeremy Knott was his name, and he's the one. He did a Yoda in the back of my head. He did a bunch of stuff. He moved away, and that was long time. It was 7, 8 years ago. But since then, I've been pretty standard with I call it my war paint. I get the smiley face shaved in the back of my head, and Stu's barbershop, Nathan Ross, he does it for me every fight camp. My hair is getting a little long now, so I got to go get it trimmed up. But I only get the smiley face the week of the fight.
Are you doing it this week coming up too, or this fight coming up?
Oh yeah, this fight it'll definitely be there. I'll probably get a haircut here soon, but I'll get the war paint on the week of before I head to Texas.
All right, nice. So, as far as the upcoming fight goes, are you aware of Klitzen? Like, a lot of people recognize him as the guy that beat Johnny Walker back in the day, but they don't really know too much about him. Have you did any studying on him, or are you aware of like his fight style?
Yeah, he's very talented. He's got some big hands, good jiu-jitsu. He doesn't even get that tired in fights. And 205ers are known for getting tired. I've seen him in a couple 3-round fights, and he never really slows down. So I know he's 0-1 in the UFC, but he kind of took that one loss on short notice, and he was on a tear before that. So he's very talented. I am happy I get him in my backyard here in America, as opposed to down in Brazil. So hopefully I'll get that audience behind me out in the crowd.
And what do you think some of the keys to victory in this fight are? And then also, how do you view the landscape of 205? As in, if you win this fight, where do you think could happen with you?
Uh, so the fight is like every fight. I just got to hit him harder and more often than he hits me, and I'll win. If I can do that, I'll win. So I'll keep that simple. But the landscape of who's up next and all that, I don't know. I always joke with people. The only guy I don't want to actually in 205, there are two guys I don't want to fight. Gustafson, who just retired, so I don't have to worry about him anymore, and
Mm-hmm.
actually Johnny Walker, because he's had 3 fights and he's in the UFC, or 4 fights in the UFC, and he hasn't made it out of the first minute yet.
Yeah.
The dude's next level.
Yeah.
So it's kind of a wide open landscape, except for John Jones. He's in a league of his own. There's nobody in the division that's even close to John Jones. Gustafson was up there, DC was up there, but even the level between Jones and those two was huge, and the level between those two and everybody else is huge. So hopefully by the time I get up to that title contention level, John Jones might have gone up to heavyweight.
And the duration of your career, the span of it has been long, over 46 professional fights. What's the biggest difference you've learned in your training methods from the beginning to now? Like, what are some things that you've changed in your training from the beginning of when you were fighting all the way up until this point?
Well, at the beginning, I was self-taught for the first 4 years of my career. I never watched the UFC. I didn't know of the UFC. I didn't know who Dan Henderson was till I met him. So the first 4 years was if I thought it would work, that's what we're going to practice today. So when I moved out here to Team Quest, I had coaches. I started learning the jiu-jitsu, more wrestling. I learned who Dan Henderson was, and
Yeah.
I was able to really take my game to the next level. The only thing I've really changed besides that move out to this next level gym is I've been working with Lockhart and Leith for years now, and that whole nutrition aspect of the fight is something I wish I would have known sooner. That I feel so much better in camps. I was like so many other fighters, where if I work out more and eat less, I'll make weight, and that's the wrong way to do it. And it's so refreshing to be working with them and feeling the difference.
And also, with that long span of the career comes UFC and records. I was wondering if you were aware that you have the record tied with Donald Cerrone for the most fights in a period of 12 months.
Yeah,
What's it feel like being a part of UFC history?
that was a huge thing I did, and it was coming off 2 losses, one to Derek Brunson, and then I was getting ready for another fight, and I broke my jaw, which took me out. So I was almost out for almost a year between Brunson and Elias. Then I always joke because I never fought Elias. I just stood in a cage with him for 15 minutes.
Yeah.
because he kind of kicked at my shoulders. So
Yeah.
I stood in the cage with Elias, and it was such a bad fight. Such a bad. I mean, it was just there was nothing. I didn't practice running. I couldn't catch him. And I was convinced I was going to be cut. It was 2 losses in a row, and it was terrible. And then the UFC, you want Eric Spicely in 2 weeks? I said, yes. So it got Spicely. Said, hey, you want Kevin Casey in another 2 weeks? I said, yes. So give me that. So in a span of about a month and a half, I got 3 fights. Then they offered me, it was like a month later, they offered me Alex Nicholson in Manila. I said, let's do it. Let's roll these bad boys up. And that fight the whole card got scrapped. The whole Manila card got scrapped.
Hmm.
But I got Nicholson in Mexico City 2 weeks later, or just like 3 weeks after that. So I got that one. Then I had Nate Marquardt. And then I got to Talis Ladies right after that. So I got to the 6 fights. I actually got to 6 fights in a year, 3 months faster than Cerrone. So we
Wow.
made tied in the year, but I got there faster. My camp leading up to Talis Ladies is I broke my ankle. And I fought like I had a broken ankle. It was his first kick, like re-screwed everything up, and it just I was in the process of buying a house, so I had to fight. I couldn't sit it out. So that whole camp was swimming. I could swim. It wasn't a very good camp leading up to talent. And then the UFC wouldn't let me. I wanted that record. I wanted 7 fights in a year, but because the UFC they insured my ankle, they
Yeah.
wouldn't let me do it.
Yeah.
So it was, I really, really wanted 7 fights in a year, and I was on pace to do it, but I ran out of time,
Which
or I
is,
ran out of working body parts.
I was gonna say, most fighters you see average somewhere between 2 to 4 fights in that span. So seeing you go on that 6 fight run was incredible. I would remember turning on TV and I'm like, Alvey again, Alvey again, Alvey again. Like we would keep seeing you over and over again. So I mean, it's good to get the exposure, but people were wondering like, man, when's this guy gonna catch a break? Because we always know that there's most of the times you're going into these fights, you may have small injuries here and there that maybe are not disclosed or whatever, but people were wondering if you were healthy going into all of these fights.
I was pretty healthy up until Talis Ladies. Talis Ladies, I went into it with only 1 leg, but I was buying a house, and I wanted that record so badly. I wanted to have those 7 fights in a year. But if I have to share with somebody, if I have to share a record, I'm glad it's with Cerrone.
Yeah, I was gonna say he's one of those guys that has a lot of those um not journeyman records, but I guess ones that'll stand the test of time as far as duration goes. I think he has like a how many hours logged into the octagon. It's ridiculous. Over 1,000 significant strikes. He just has a bunch of wild records. But I have a question that I wanted to ask you that I've been wondering about for a long time because
Okay.
um, this is something that's unique to you. I've never seen this with any other fighter on the planet. When I scroll through your records, you have 1 no contest, and the fight on that for the no contest is against Paul Bradley. It's at KOTC Chain Reaction, and it said the fight was stopped due to rainfall. I've never seen that before. I wanted to know, like, what do you remember from that fight, and how was the actual stoppage?
Yeah, that was great. So it was an outdoor event. It was up in northern Wisconsin, and they had this outdoor event every year. They had it. It was Lake of the Torches Casino, and it was it was a beautiful day all day. It was just wonderful. We were out playing and jet skiing and surfing and all that out on the water, and well, not surfing, but skiing.
Yeah.
And it came fight time, and everything was great. And then I was the main event. The co-main event, it started raining. Floyd, the Hitman Hodges, that was the co-main event, and it started
Hmm.
raining during this fight. So during that fight, the promoter, it wasn't Cox, but it might have been Cox. Nah, I don't remember who it was. Trouble Cox. Hey, anyways, the promoter came up and said, "Hey, Sam, and Paul, no matter what happens, the fight's going to be no contest, but we'll give an extra $1,000 to the winner if you guys agree to go out and fight anyways." And it's yeah, it was like without hesitation, both said, "Yeah, let's do it." So we went out there, and it was just downpouring. I mean, it was like the movie Twister kind of raining. It was just
Yeah.
coming down, and I'll remember it forever because we were just soaked. We got out there and the bell rang and I landed one punch and then he slipped and then I slipped on top of him. And then we just kind of, every time we do anything, we slip. Um, and it was probably the dumbest thing I've ever done in my career because we could have really hurt ourselves, but it was just a slip and slide. We couldn't hold on to each other. We couldn't do anything. And then between rounds, the owner of the casino, uh, he came up and put a stop to it. He said, "Listen, guy, you're gonna hurt yourself. Nothing. We'll split the $1,000. We won't give it to the winner. We'll split it." So we both made an extra $500.
Were you upset about the stoppage? You feel like maybe you could have won that one, or were you okay with it?
I was fine with it. It was probably for my own good.
All right, so let's get into some questions about Team Quest because we know that you train there. Is there anybody that's at Team Quest on the amateur level that you think we would expect to see in the UFC sometime soon?
Well, I got three training partners that are experienced pros that should be in the UFC soon. Jordan Winsky, he's now 10-2. He just won on a CFFC last weekend, 2 weekends ago. He beat Terrion Ware, who is UFC vet, beat him pretty handedly. Tomorrow night, I have a buddy, Ricky Fuhrer. He's fighting on AXS TV for the LFA, and he's 5-1 now. He'll be 6-1 after tomorrow night at 135. And then I've got a big dog, Jared the Mountain. What's his last name? Jared the Mountain.
Yeah, Jared the Mountain.
Yeah.
When you have a nickname like the Mountain, you don't need a last name.
Yeah, and he's a heavyweight, and he's just talent on top of talent. So we're hoping he gets in that UFC soon, because he belongs there. Then I've got Jamal, the Stormtrooper. He's fighting for Contender here not too long, and there's just a lot of talent coming out of our gym.
And who are the coaches that are there these days? Give us a rundown because I think people think that there's been not like a rotating door of coaches in and out, but Team Quest was something that was very prominent in the golden era of the UFC. But then as more camps start to come around, we start seeing the Jackson Winks, the AT&Ts. Who are some of the mainstays that have been at Team Quest that maybe you still train with from the duration of since you've been there to now?
Tarek Safadine, Tom Galicchio, Fernando Gonzalez, Dan Henderson, the head of the gym. He's been the head coach for longer than I've been at Team Quest. And the one thing Team Quest has never done is we've never gone out and bought people, which not saying that Jackson Wink and those guys do, but they have a lot of fighters that started somewhere else and came to them, which they're a great camp. We train our fighters from amateur to pro, and that's what they've always done. So we may not be the golden era list of names anymore, but we've got more talent under our roof than almost anywhere on the planet. Our coaches, as you were saying, Joe Daddy Stevenson, he's one of our head coaches. Gustavo, he's got a Brazilian last name, and I can never say it. Gustavo's our head boxing coach. Dan Henderson's in there almost every day. Tarek Safadine, he runs a lot of the kickboxing. Then Tom Galicchio, he's also helping out a ton with the jiu-jitsu program. So we've got a large staff, a very talented staff, a very experienced staff of coaches.
And with someone like Tarek Safadine teaching striking, I'm sure you guys have like a bunch of people in there that do really creative things while you're in there. Is there any like creative techniques you've seen striking displayed that from any fighters that are in the UFC, maybe that we haven't seen use their full array of tricks yet in the octagon?
Wait, so what's the question?
Like, is there anybody that you see in training that does like incredible, like maybe spinning techniques or like just like flashy things that, they do it while they're training, but then maybe when they get in the octagon, it's a little bit more technical, just waiting to see somebody explode with one of those techniques?
Shoot, I'll take credit for that. That's me. In the practice, I'll do whatever to anyone. I can do the spinning kicks. I can do the high kicks. I can look like Sage Northcutt in the practice room. but out in that fight floor, I as much as I might want to do the spinning stuff, I know a good right hook works a lot better most of the time.
Yeah. And one last question about Team Quest. Do you have anybody there that you think not in the sense of a teacher's pet, but who do you see like always absorbing like footage and maybe from a technical standpoint, somebody that you think would transfer to being a coach one day at a high level?
Well, I love coaching. I run the amateur team here at Quest. I do a lot of work with the pros, and we're really good at being a team like that. We're always helping each other. Tom Galicchio, he's a wonderful coach. He works with the amateurs as well as I do, and we have a good view and a good work ethic on what works.
And this is a question that I ask every fighter that's been on the show so far. Um, you've won your share of performance bonuses in the UFC. Do you remember how you spent your first one?
Yeah, I bought a minivan so I could fit my kids in. I tried to buy a house, but they wouldn't they wouldn't do it. So yeah, I bought a minivan. So I've still got that minivan. It's great.
Oh, I know. When I spoke to Roxanne Modafari, she bought like this crazy massage chair. I spoke to Juan Adams, and he said he wants to get a helicopter. So I've gotten some crazy answers. I like to ask that question to all the fighters, just to see, a lot of people are interested in knowing what people actually do with that performance bonus, when it actually comes, if it's on time, if you get it all. So people always wonder stuff like that.
Yeah, I guess I'm more boring than that. I bought a minivan.
All right, so the fans will remember Sam Alvey getting that minivan with the 50K. Before we get out of here, is there anyone that you'd like to thank, sponsors and fan wise?
Hey, my Team Quest. I encourage all of you. Just hit us up. You're welcome to come train with us. We're the best team in the world. Dynamic Fitness. They've been working with me for almost as long as Team Quest, and I'm thrilled with all of them. So thank my coaches, thank my team, thank everyone that's helped me get to where I'm at.
All right, and with that, that's episode 10 of The Unknown Room. Thank you, Sam Alvey, for joining us. Best of luck on July 20th in San Antonio, and we will see you then.
Hey, thank you very much, sir.
Thank you.
Hey, I'm not surprised, motherfuckers.
Shocked if this fight went the distance.
Unknown MMA. Everything you don't know about MMA.